gets the #1 safety in the country. What was it about Alabama?
LSU Tigers, #1. Go Tigers.
And the next 4 years, I'm going to Denver University.
Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, 256-576-4977. Now, here's D Squared.
Welcome, everyone, to this Thursday edition of the Recruiting Blitz on Blitz Sports Radio. I am D Squared, Drew DeArmond. We're going to talk some Alabama basketball today and football. We've got a special guest slated to join us for the first time on the Recruiting Blitz on Blitz Sports Radio. We are going to connect with Chase Goodbread of the Tuscaloosa News. As he has worn many hats in his career in the media business. Worked for the NFL at NFL.com for many years, covering the draft process as well. He's part of the Talkin' Tide Daily podcast, too, with one of our other guests that always joins us throughout football season on Talkin' Ball Weekly, and that is Travis Ryer. He's also been a part of the Crimson Cover Daily Alabama football podcast as well. John Copeland, a part of that, and Mike Parker. It's a very interesting show as well. Mike Parker is a great story, someone that's an outstanding Alabama historian, and of course you know John Copeland. John Copeland being a legend who played with our very own Keith Neighbors, who you've heard on ESPN 97.7 The Zone, and was part of what I still think is the greatest defense in Crimson Tide history, the 1992 defense. He was an All-American, somebody that will be in the College Football Hall of Fame, should be. He was a first-team All-American. He and Eric Curry, you could argue were the best defensive end duo ever at Alabama and maybe in college football history. But again, Crimson Cover, Chase Goodbread is a part of, and of course, the daily podcast Talkin' Tide, and back with the Tuscaloosa News for a second time in his career, trying to fill the huge shoes of Cecil Hurt, who, as we all know, was a mentor of mine, was a legend in our business, and Chase Goodbread took on that task, and he's a columnist and covers college football for the Tuscaloosa News. Wrote an outstanding column last night. He's and the headline was, "Is this Alabama's best basketball team ever?" But that, as he said, that will be decided in March. But the bench is what really saved Alabama last night. Alabama playing Mississippi State for the first time since late December, when they opened SEC play on the road in the Humphrey Coliseum, with a 78-67 win. Last night was much tougher. It was 66-63. Alabama only 5 of 28 from the three-point line, only 21 of 57 overall from the field. So they did not shoot the ball very well as a team, only just under a shade, under 37%. But they did shoot 19 of 22 from the free throw line. They've shot well from the line all year. They did come back after a poor first half rebounding. They led Mississippi State in rebounds 36-33 and really did a lot of damage on the offensive glass in the second half. Most of their 0 boards were in the second half. They finished with 12 offensive rebounds. And Brandon Miller didn't have his best game, but still pretty efficient. 5 of 9 from the floor overall. Couldn't get his three ball to go, only 1 for 4. Only got to the free throw line 3 times. He was 2 of 3. They did a nice job kind of limiting his touches and field goal attempts, but the one thing about Brandon is he does not force the issue. May have forced a couple of threes last night, but for the most part, he does not force it offensively, and he was able to still manufacture 13 points. Noah Clowney did the same, though Noah was 3 for 10, 0 for 6 from 3, but the majority of his points, over half of them, 7 from the free throw line, as he was 7 of 8, getting himself to the line. Also had 8 rebounds, but Brandon Miller did earn the Hard Hat Award. So congrats to Brandon, the unbelievable true freshman. But I was talking about said bench because, again, Mark Sears and Jaden Bradley go a combined, from the field. When you look at their field goal attempts, they were 3 of 14, but the one that kind of saved the bacon, 4 of 9 for Javon Quinterly, 5 of 6 from the free throw line, 14 points, 4 assists, only 1 turnover for Javon Quinterly. So good stat line for him, and some valuable minutes from Noah Gurley, including a big O board late, and then a big assist setting up Noah Clowney to get fouled, and 2 free throws made. Nick Pringle, very efficient, and 8 minutes off the bench. He ends up with 7 points total in those 8 minutes. As Nate Oates said, he probably should have gotten some more time, but Nick did an outstanding job scoring the ball. They were a +4 when he was in the game, and he really had 2 of his best games against Mississippi State. Could have really, I thought, was the MVP coming off the bench with 20-plus minutes, with Bediako in foul trouble really both times against Mississippi State. But Nick Pringle saving his best work for the Bulldogs in maroon and white and doing a nice job. And then also Rylan Griffin, a little over 12 minutes, and he did an outstanding job hitting a big 3 from the corner to give Alabama the first lead of the game in the second half, 48-46. Before that, made a runner in the lane, I believe, to cut it to 1, and then made the 3 to take the lead. So he did some really nice things as well as he continues to expand his role, and he's one of the best three-point shooters on the team, a very confident kid. And once he adds weight and continues to improve defensively, I think is going to be a big-time player for Alabama. But a lot of times in basketball, it's how you respond to adversity. Alabama found a way to win last night, and they responded, and they did an outstanding job getting a big win to go to 18-2 overall on the season and 8-0 in the SEC. It's their first SEC win that's not by double digits. Now they'll try to play better on the road in the SEC Big 12 Challenge against Porter Moser in Oklahoma. And Oklahoma's going to try to slow the tempo like Chris Jans and Mississippi State did last night. So hopefully that was a good precursor and test for Alabama as they head on the road once again. But I tell you what, we're going to bring you some Nate Oates reaction. We're going to bring you his press conference. I had a question for Nate Oates at the end of the press conference about Noah Gurley's contribution and Rylan Griffin, and we wanted to play that press conference for you right here during our Recruiting Blitz show here on this Thursday.
Yeah, SEC is a tough league. Teams won 1 game in the SEC. You saw how tough it was to get a win. I got to give a ton of credit to Mississippi State. They came ready to play. I thought they had a great plan. They improved more than we improved from the first time we played them. I didn't think we did a great job getting our guys ready to go. We did a good job attacking them. We didn't start the game like we needed to, but I give our guys a lot of credit. The second half, they found a way to get a win in a tight game. We haven't had very many tight games, so it's not the worst. But we had to figure out how to win a close game, especially when you're down. I told our guys 2 years ago when we won the SEC championship, in the tournament, the semifinal, went down 15 to Tennessee. You gotta figure out how to win games that aren't going your way. I mean, we shot 18% from 3 and couldn't buy a bucket, and still figured out how to beat a pretty good team. I mean, I know the record doesn't say they're good, but I still think they're a good team. I think they're gonna upset some people. They play really hard, and they had us down 10, so they had us down 11, I think, at one point. So it's a quality team, but at this point we'll take a win.
Nick.
Yeah, you mentioned this is not the worst to have a close win. What are the specific things you want your players to take away from a night like this that can help in the postseason?
We told one, they got to be ready to go out of the gate. Like, when we charted blue collar points, they just doubled up the first 2 4-minute wars. I didn't think we played hard enough. Mississippi State was playing harder than we were to start the game. So then when you're not playing hard enough, you're not getting stops on offense, you start to struggle a little bit. I think when your defense is great, you kind of just lose yourself in the game. The offense is easier, you get some easier buckets in transition. So then kind of compounded. I thought the second half, we played a lot harder. The beginning of the half wasn't great on offense. We had, I think, 4 turnovers in the first 4 minutes. So, but I thought we were playing harder. And then eventually we played hard enough, got enough stops, got out transition, and a few transition buckets. got some easier looks. The offense started flowing a little bit more, but I mean, it was not a great offensive game by any stretch for us tonight.
Katie.
How big was JQ tonight on offense to kind of get the offense going late in the second half on that run, whether it's facilitating the ball or scoring? So.
Yeah, he was huge. I mean, like, you know, he can shoot, so they, you know, they couldn't really sag him as much, you know, and they tried to switch. I thought he's got some explosiveness to get in the paint, make plays happen. You know, hit the 1-3. Hit some drives going in. He made his free throws for the most part. I think he missed the one late. He was 5 of 6 at the line. So, you know, he had 4 assists, only 1 turnover. I think you're starting to see even though we missed some scoring tonight, you know, on a night when we needed some scoring help. They did a great job on Brandon and Sears. You know, we needed somebody to step up and score the ball. JQ's been able to score for us pretty well in the past. We needed him tonight, so, you know, we need everybody. I thought Pringle played well. Maybe he should have got a few more minutes, but you know, scored 7 points in 8 minutes. He was 3 for 3 at the line. His free throws were big. This is a guy that struggled in the past. He's worked hard to correct his free throws. We needed every last one of them tonight. So there's a couple of guys that maybe hadn't played as big a roles, but needed to know it early. I thought gave us big minutes late in the game, closed the game for us. So that's the thing about this team is we're deeper. We got some depth. We can use it, you know, when we need to, and we have some guys step up tonight.
Mike.
Yeah, you just kind of got into that a little bit, but you went to the bench pretty early. You know, Brandon was out of the game first 4 minutes. Just what were you looking for, you know, from the bench at that point, and also what did you get from Don Welch, 2 for 3?
Yeah, it was great to see some shots drop for Don. That one at the end of the half was big, cut it from 10 to 7. You know, we know he's a shooter. He's been practicing really hard, trying to get him some minutes. You know, the Brandon, I didn't really take him out for doing anything wrong particularly. It's just, you know, I think there was 16:40, if I remember right, to go. We were coming down on defense. He just picked up a foul. I figured I got him right back in at the 80. I just figured we could save him a possession or 2 on defense. Try not to get him in foul trouble. I know we're going to need him. You know, might have been good because he ended up with 3 fouls. He picked up a couple unnecessary ones there in the second half. He tends to do that occasionally. So Brandon's deal was just trying to foul trouble. And I thought offensively, did I sub JQ in for Bradley maybe too? I thought JQ could maybe just go a little bit. They'd have to guard him a little bit closer out there. He's a little bit better shooter. They seem to be helping off Jaden a lot, sagging. I mean, Jaden did do a good job. I thought bringing in the second half, maybe attacking a little better, but it was a little harder with the way they were guarding Jaden to get us going a little bit.
Blake.
Coach, how would you assess the defensive performance from the first half to the second half and the improvements that were made there?
Look, our energy got better. I mean, played harder, you know, got some steals, made some deflections, you know, our points off turnovers. This is a team that needs to score off turnovers in Mississippi State. They had 9 off turnovers, we had 22. I think a lot of those came in the second half. So I think it was a deal where our guys realized, you know, we're down 7, and I think we got down 10 again in the second half. Like, this isn't an easy game. We got to pick our energy up. Now, it's disappointing that we had to pick it up. It should just be there from the beginning, but we picked it up and figured out a way to get a win. And, you know, if you're going to win an SEC championship, you got to win some games that you don't play your best, and then we figured out a way to get a win. Our defense in the second half, I think, is what did it.
James.
You talked about it at the end there, but you said the team needed to pick it up in the second half. Is there anything that you said in the locker room to kind of inspire the team to play a little bit harder, or was there anything that was said during that time?
I mean, we just pointed out all the defensive screw-ups they had. I mean, the numbers were down in the blue-collar stats. We were down on the glass. Just based on, there's nothing profound. We just said we got to play harder. Like this, we told you at the beginning, told you coming in, this is a hard-playing team. You know, if you don't play hard enough, the team that can beat you. Shoot, we're down 7. You know, we could easily been down 10 if Tom didn't hit that 3 at the end of the half. But I thought our guys did play harder in the second half. So there was no real major adjustments, to be honest with you. I thought offensively we did a little bit better job, although we had 4 turnovers in the first 4 minutes of the second half, so it didn't look like we did much better. But I thought we were able to score off our defense a little bit. We did a little bit better job with some of the switch attacks in the second half too.
Tony.
What's the, like,
vibe at halftime? Is it you, or is it more of a butt chewing, or is it you let some of the players kind of speak for themselves? You got some veterans.
Honestly, like I usually the staff goes, meets for 3-4 minutes, come in. We went right in and just started checking off everything that was wrong. Like it was so much wrong that we just said the whole list. We just said it wasn't. I mean, we were definitely a little animated with some of the screw-ups, why they did it, but it wasn't necessarily butt chewing. I think this team's a pretty mature group that knew they weren't playing as hard and as well as they needed to. And if we're gonna win, we gotta fix this. I mean, we screwed up switches, we screwed up some coverages, we talked through some stuff. Offensively, some of our turnovers were not good turnovers, so there's plenty of stuff to fix. We went through it, told them, go out, get yourself good one, we gotta be ready to go. And I think you saw them at kind of the end of the half, they had a little longer meeting there. I think that's when they got together and we gotta pick this thing up. So we got pretty good leadership within the team.
Taylor.
Hey, Coach, going into this one, number 2 team in the country, everybody in the conference wants to knock you guys off. How do you think your team is handling the growing target on its side?
Based on tonight, it didn't look good. That was the worst game we played in a while, so I personally thought we'd been handling it pretty well coming up till tonight. So, you know, we've also had a lot on our plates the last week and a half. You know, I don't know, you know, I thought we did well at Vandy, we did pretty good at Missouri. Maybe some of that's catching up, I don't know, but I don't think this is a group that's gonna let too much of that get to their head. To me, listening to them talking to them one-on-one, like I think they all understand there's plenty of room to get better, and we gotta get better. This is, you know, I don't know what the deal was tonight. Based on tonight's play, it looks like we're not handling it well, but I honestly don't think that's the case within the group. I think we'll bounce back. Hopefully we can learn off a win. You know, a mature group can come in after a win and learn just as much as they can after a loss. So, you know, we didn't play as well as we need to. Hopefully we learned the lessons we need to after a win and get a little bit better on Saturday.
True.
Coach, when you win games like this, you got to show a lot of grit. I thought a couple of the key sequences, Noah Gurley got a big board and also a big assist that sent Clowney to the line for 2. Talk about his contribution tonight, and then also you guys' first lead of the game was Ryland's 3 from the corner. He also had a little floater in the lane. I thought he played pretty fearless, but just talk about those 2 guys off the bench.
Yeah, Ryland has no fear. He's a super confident kid. He prepares himself to play well. He's been shooting the ball really well in practice. He shot it well in Missouri. We expect those to go in. You know, he's a good player. He's gonna be really good for us when we need him to be this year and down the road. And then I thought Gurley was great. Yeah, the assist he had to Clowney. Clowney did a great job at the free throw line tonight. Going 7 of 8. You know, he's worked hard to get that fixed like Pringle has. But Gurley got the old board. He made a couple big plays. I thought the defense he had was it. I can't remember who was on, which guard it was on. It was either Moore or Reed, if I remember right. I thought it was really good for like 10 seconds, and he just reached in at the end. But I thought you could tell he was ready to go, moving his feet, sitting down guard. And so we need some veteran guys that maybe aren't playing huge minutes. Just come in. Thought Dom and Gurley both did that for us tonight, in my opinion.
Chase.
2 questions. The first one, going back to depth, with about 10 minutes left in the first half, you're down 18-9, and you subbed in your 10th and 11th player that had played to that point. Looking for a spark for as far on the bench as you need to at that point, or does it just speak to how confident you are in those guys?
Yeah, which 2 guys were? I don't remember which 2.
The last 2 were Burnett and Pringle.
Yeah, so Burnett's obviously been a starter for us, so I definitely have some confidence in him. I thought he's a great kid. I thought he was a little antsy to make a play, gambled on defense, and then kind of punched it to him. You know, he gave up 2 buckets. But we've got a lot of confidence in him. He's got to get some game reps. You know, hopefully we can get some separation from some teams and get back in game mode. And then Pringle played well against these guys last time, and he's been playing well in practice. I mean, a lot of that with some of those guys who don't play every minute, how well are you practicing? I thought Pringle's been really good in practice. I thought he got himself ready to go. He played pretty good against these guys last time. Charles wasn't playing great. I thought Clowney was struggling a little bit. let's go with Pringle and see what he does. I thought he gave us pretty good minutes in the first half.
And the second question, Quinterly took 2 mid-range jumpers. Does that hurt him on hard hat points?
We don't take away points on mid-range. The one got blocked, so obviously that wasn't a good one. The one he made, I thought that was a good shot, to be honest with you. So, if they're open and the bigs just drop back, like, he's a good shooter, go ahead and pull up and shoot them. Let's not shoot the ones that get blocked, those probably aren't good shots that get blocked.
Last point, John.
As a coach, nobody wants to go 5 of 28, get down 11. But for a team that kind of made things look so easy, I mean, as a coach, do you kind of like relish to some extent a game like this?
Yeah, I mean, not happy with the effort for 40 minutes, not happy with a lot of things in the game, but as a staff, sometimes you gotta learn how to win a tight game. And you can't generate that in practice. We've been doing in the game situations, knowing that I've told the guys, like, we're gonna have to execute some late game stuff. We're not gonna be able to blow everybody out by 20+ points. It's not the way it works, in SEC play. So we've been working on it in practice. There's no way to emulate real game situations though. So I thought we did a good job being down 10 in the second half, coming back, getting the lead we got. Didn't think we did a great job closing it. I mean, it was 8-point lead with 3 minutes or so to go, and it ends up only being 3. I thought we could have done a better job with some of that late game stuff, even the last minute, to be honest with you. But it's good to be put in those situations, figure out how to get a win. We did get some decent stops. They scored a couple, but we'll learn from it. Hopefully be better. It's not going to be the last close game we have for sure.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
Oates post game wanted to bring you some of that here on the Recruiting Blitz. Every now and then we will do that, especially when we are a part of the coverage for Alabama basketball, which we were. Our scheduled guest, Chase Goodbread of the Tuscaloosa News, you heard him ask an outstanding question about the depth of this team. As we said, he just wrote an outstanding column in the Tuscaloosa News about this being the deepest team that he can remember at the University of Alabama. And, of course, he was a former student there in the early 90s and has followed the Wimp era through much of his adulthood and it followed Alabama basketball, covered it in the Gottfried era as well, in addition to Anthony Grant and a lot of those teams that we saw at the University of Alabama. So he's seen Alabama at their best. He's seen them rebuild. But as he has written, it's the deepest team he can remember. We'll talk to him about that. We'll ask him about what he saw yesterday, and then a little bit of Alabama football, because the New England Patriots have now officially announced Bill O'Brien as their new offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. So he is going to tutor one Mac Jones. And Chase is very close to the NFL. We'll ask him about Bill O'Brien's fit with New England and helping Mac Jones come along, and maybe his thoughts on some of these Alabama guys looking to move on to the NFL, how what his sources have said about their chances. Because you got Bryce Young, you got Will Anderson, Brian Branch. Looks like he could easily be a first-round pick. Jameer Gibbs. Chase has worked on both sides of the ledger very closely, covering college football and the NFL draft, no doubt about that. And we can talk to him about Alabama football heading into this transition. Nick Saban hiring offensive and defensive coordinators. He has covered the Alabama Crimson Tide through much of the Saban era, in addition to going to the other side, to the NFL, and covering it from a pro perspective. He has worn many hats in the media. He's an outstanding writer and an outstanding source when it comes to talking Alabama Crimson Tide, and we want to feature him next on the Recruiting Blitz on Blitz Sports Radio. But before we go on a break, remember to download our app, the Blitz Sports Radio app. Again, you can hear me each and every Monday through Friday from 9 to 10 a.m. giving you quality conversation here. Really, it's tied into recruiting, but it can also be tied into coaches. We give a lot of coaches a platform to speak. We just heard from Nate Oates. We certainly talk Alabama basketball. Certainly, we're going to catch up with Chase Goodbread and talk some Crimson Tide basketball and football on this show. But don't forget, from 2 to 4, the Bandyman Bailey Lowry and Captain Cool John Abraham. Tune in to hear them each and every Monday through Friday from 2 to 4. And if you haven't downloaded the 97.7 The Zone app, please do that. So many of you have, and we appreciate the support there. But, of course, You could have heard the Alabama basketball game last night with our own North Alabama Athens alum Richard Hendricks on the call, former Crimson Tide stalwart, sitting in for Brian Pasick, who has been on this show and also on Talking Ball. He does an outstanding job. But Richard Hendricks was in his stead. He's done a lot of good work for the SEC Network. He and Chris Stewart brought you Alabama, Mississippi State. You could hear that on our airwaves on 97.7 The Zone last night. And also you can hear the game with Oklahoma. That'll be a 1 o'clock tip-off Central Time, pregame at 12 noon on the Crimson Tide Sports Network, as I believe Brian Pasick will be back with our good friend Chris Stewart. So you'll be able to hear that if you download the app as well, because we are the kings of local sports conversation and coverage in North Alabama and especially Madison County. And we're the home of Alabama athletics on 97.7 The Zone. We are the home of UAH. You'll be able to hear UAH and the Shorter Hawks tonight. Steve Moulton and Scott Tyson on the call. And then, as we said, since late July, we've been going strong on the Blitz, and we've been bringing to the recruiting Blitz with D Squared and the afternoon Blitz with Captain Cool and the Bandy Man. So we're going to go on a break. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Chase Goodbread of the Tuscaloosa News to talk some University of Alabama. Stay with us.
Do you have discomfort in your legs? Varicose veins can affect not only how your legs look, but how they feel. Symptoms of varicose veins include pain, swelling, aching, heaviness, and fatigue. Dr. Tracy Lowry of Best Vein Care of Huntsville can diagnose and treat your varicose veins with the latest minimally invasive techniques. Diagnosis and treatment is covered by most insurances. Call 256-715-7151 to schedule your free screening. Go to bestveincarehuntsville.com.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
Hey folks, this is Arthur Seaton, managing partner of University Kia, letting you know we are proud supporters of Crimson Tide football. Stop in the University Kia today and shop our large selection of new Kias, including the all-new Telluride 8-passenger SUV, the stylish new K5, and sporty new Seltos. Visit universitykia.com for all our great offers. And get pre-approved in minutes so you can drive home your new Kia today, because we want to see you in a Kia. Roll Tide!
Are you tired of chasing a roofing contractor to show up on time, or even show up at all? I'm Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Our motto at Fleming Roofing is we show up. Our goal at Fleming Roofing is to provide the reliable customer service that you deserve, and we have the resources to meet all of your roofing needs: residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. We are manufacturer certified for roof coatings, single-ply membranes, and asphalt shingles. Whenever you need a roofing professional you can count on, call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We are committed to finding the solution that meets your needs. We don't have quotas or heavy-handed sales tactics. Fleming Roofing, we have expert experience. We show up. Free estimates, residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. Check us out at FlemingHSV.com. FlemingHSV.com. When you need a quick response, it's Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
I'm attorney Gary Lackey. You know, you'll hear people say we're like a family, but here at the Lackey Law Firm, that's really true, not just a saying.
I'm Justin Lackey. With my father and my sister, we have a special connection to each other.
I'm Jennifer Lackey. At the Lackey Law Firm, when we take on your case, you become part of our family. You really do.
And we'll always do whatever it takes to get everything you deserve.
If you're injured, you worry about getting well, not about paperwork or insurance companies or figuring out how to get to your lawyer's office. I'll come to you.
We worry about your case so you don't have to.
When you've been injured, we know that your case is probably the biggest thing going on in your life. More important than almost anything else.
And it's important to us too, for one simple reason. Family takes care of each other, and at the Lackey Law Firm, we'll take care of you.
The Lackey Law Firm. The Lackey Law Family. 1-800-4-RIGHTS.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Back to Blitz Sports Radio. I'm D Squared, Rudy Arman. This is the Recruiting Blitz. But we talk more than recruiting. We cover Alabama. Of course, we are the home on 97.7 The Zone on our sister station of Alabama Athletics. We give a platform for coaches to join us and talk about their programs. But we also like to talk to media personalities, sports writers, people that are close to the action in our state and throughout the United States. And for our next guest, he's been with us on Talking Ball in the past, both in his role in the past with the National Football League, covering college football and the draft process. Before that, he was with BamaOnline.com, also the Tuscaloosa News, covering the University of Alabama. He's a graduate of the university and someone that has grown up around this state and around Alabama athletics. It's an honor to have on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline to join us for the first time on Blitz Sports Radio, Chase Goodbread. Chase, it was good to see you last night. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, Drew. How are you?
We're doing well, and I enjoyed your column this morning because, as I know, you and Travis Ryer, another great friend of our stations here, and especially at 97.7 The Zone, he joins us on a weekly basis. You guys attended the university together and covered Alabama very closely, and certainly you were around Wimp Sanderson's program, as was I as a youth. I had a chance just in the last several days to reconnect with Terry Connor, who's one of my favorite point guards of all time. My first memories of Alabama basketball were really that 1987 team I think you referenced in your column that was a very good team under Wimp Sanderson that went to the Sweet 16. But I would agree with you. I've been following this program avidly since that time. I've never seen the kind of depth we see on this team, 11 deep. You mentioned it to Nate Oates last night. We played that 10, 11th guy coming off the bench, making key plays. And I know when he came from Buffalo, he talked about only being a guy that played 8 or 9, but this team legitimately has 11 guys that can play, and they needed all of them last night.
Yeah, first close game they've had in the SEC, right? They've been pretty much routing people ever since they got beat by Gonzaga. And then they came out kind of asleep last night, fell behind 8-2, and pulled a couple of starters, sent their first subs in. About 16 minutes left in the first half. Less than a minute later, they sent in the 8th and 9th guy, and a few minutes after that, down 18-9, they sent in the 10th and 11th guy. So, yeah, Nate Oates is he's got so many buttons he can push that it's almost impossible not to find somebody who's going to give you a hot night off the bench if you just keep pushing those buttons.
Yeah, that's right. And but as you said, the legacy of this team will be in March. Last year, Auburn was number 1 in the country, and yet they had a disappointing end in the NCAA tournament, second round in the round of 32 to Jimmy Larinaga in Miami. We'll see what happens with this Alabama team. Now, they've approached things, as you've heard Nate Oates say, very professionally so far. Now, this was probably, Tony Sakalas, who you know very well. He joined us on Talking Ball this morning, but he did make a great point of this is the first rematch they've had with a team that maybe comes out and does some different things, approaches things differently. And so Alabama had to battle through that. This second time through the conference schedule is going to be interesting coming up after the Oklahoma game.
Yeah, I think for sure the two highlights would be Auburn and Tennessee, right? Couple of teams that could certainly give Alabama some trouble. They've got both of those games on the road. One of them's February 11th, and the other one's February 15th. I think it's Auburn on the 11th, and then they head to Knoxville a few days after that. So, for me anyway, those are the SEC games left that probably have a red circle around them. But at this point, with the way they were able to kind of get stops in the second half last night, it was kind of a rock fight last night, really. I mean, they really struggled from three-point range. They had to win the game on defense as much as anything, and they ended up getting some stops on a team that's really struggled offensively, to kind of pull it out. So they'll be looking to get the shooters back on track, certainly when they go to Oklahoma this weekend.
Well, and one thing that this staff reminds me of, what Nate Oates and his staff do, Brian Hodgson, Antoine Petway, longtime fixture, Charlie Henry, what we used to see out of Wimp's teams with the Alvin Lees, the David Benoits, some of these guys that they would bring out of the junior college ranks that were outstanding players, Latrell Sprewell, they would be guys that would play in the NBA, play a long time, uber athletic. But that's what I see out of Nick Pringle. I know he spent his freshman year at Wofford. Then they signed him out of the JUCO ranks. Many times he doesn't play 10 minutes a game, but when he's in there, he makes an impact. And, he gave them 7 points in 8 minutes last night, and as Nate Oates said, probably should have got him some more time.
Yeah, he could have played more. And in the rare occasions when he's been given more minutes, he's played really well, right? I mean, I think back to a game, I can't remember which one it was, maybe a month ago. Noah Clowney was out with an illness, and Pringle got big minutes replacing him, and was exceptional. He's a force around the rim. He doesn't like to lay it up. He likes to slam it home, and he's physical enough to do it against some big players.
Yeah, I mean, Tony pointed out, I think he's 19 of 20. With so many dunks from the field. I mean, his field goal percentage is off the charts, and he gave him a spark last night. You're right about that. I love Rylan Griffin. The way he shoots the basketball, his fearlessness. I pointed that out to Nate Oates last night. He certainly didn't seem afraid to take a big shot in a close game. He had that 5-point run where he made the runner to cut it to 1. And then I thought it was big when they got over the hump to at least take a brief lead, 48-46.
I've liked Griffin all year. I really have, and I haven't written a whole lot about that. I have done a little bit of tweeting about him, but he's, to me, he can do a little bit of everything. Right? He'll get a rebound. You can stick him in a game, and almost whatever you need, he can help you with. He can grab a rebound. He can make a shot from the outside. He can penetrate. He can play defense. He can really do it all. And I think sky's kind of the limit for him potential-wise. He can get off the floor and rebound with bigger people too. So a lot to like about his game. And I thought it was interesting that he was the first guy off the bench against Mississippi State, but he's 9th on the team in minutes played for the year. So I think that tells you that he's kind of on the ascent in Nate Oates' eyes as they continue through the back half of this SEC schedule.
Yeah, no doubt. And we're talking to Chase Goodbread for a few more minutes of the Tuscaloosa News. We appreciate his time. Very busy. And I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you this, because you've been in the sports media business pretty much since you graduated from the university. You've certainly done a lot of your work here locally in our state and in Tuscaloosa. You took on a role that the shoes are really impossible to fill with the impact that Cecil Hurt had as a mentor to so many, as one of the greatest writers I've ever heard, one of the great quipsters, a guy that was a force on Twitter with his sense of humor and his, just his insight. But talk about taking on the job of being the lead columnist for the Tuscaloosa News. To me, it's also an honor that you would be trusted to take the readers on a journey, the kind that Cecil did. I mean, Cecil's irreplaceable, but talk about the impact that he had on your career as well, because I know you got to work closely with him and during your time previously with the Tuscaloosa News.
Yeah, so I'm coming up on a year in the role now. Took the job in late February of last year. Cecil had passed in November of 21, so around 3 months before that when we lost him. Difficult for everybody for sure. Like you said, he was irreplaceable. A one-of-a-kind writer. Got a chance to work with him for 4 years when I was the beat writer for the T-News from 2009 to 2013, and he was always willing to help, and definitely a fine mentor for just about anybody that worked with him or around him. And my approach has been to just kind of be myself and stay in my own shoes, because I think when you try to fill somebody else's shoes, that can be where you run into trouble. You come behind somebody that's irreplaceable, you better start your own path instead of trying to blaze down one that's already there. So that was kind of my approach to it. I think that's really the only way to do it. And so far it seems to be working out. I'm enjoying it.
No doubt. It's glad to have you back on the beat, but you did spend several years working for the National Football League. Certainly the Senior Bowl was a big part of that. It's coming up. Alabama's got, I think, 7 guys left. It looks like Jordan Battle has opted out of it. We don't really know the reason yet. Could be an injury situation. We don't know. Had a great career, though, at Alabama. Certainly it looks like Alabama is going to be very prominent in this draft. Chase, Bryce Young, Will Anderson could, be top 3 picks, but they definitely should probably be going in the top 5. Brian Branch has high, ceiling right now. I've seen him as high as in the top 10, around the 10th pick. Then I know Jahmyr Gibbs is liked by many. Your thoughts? I mean, you've been through the draft process and covered it very closely on the prospects for this group of Alabama players.
Anderson and Young, obviously, like you said, they're going to be off the board super fast. Both of them probably top 5 picks. I don't think it's totally inconceivable that they could go 1-2. We'll see how that plays out. That would be a first for Alabama, and if it happened, that would be only the 4th time in NFL draft history that it's happened for the same players from the same school to go 1 and 2. Beyond them, Branch has kind of been on the ascent. He was projected as a kind of a late 1st round, early 2nd round guy toward the end of the football season. The more scouts you talk to, though, the more you find that they seem to like him. I think he's on the climb. I don't know that he goes 10th. He could, I guess, in the 1st round. Anything can happen. But I do think he's in the 1st round pretty solidly. There's a lot to like about him. He can do everything from that nickel position. And beyond that, Gibbs is probably sitting on that edge of late 1st, early 2nd. And I think the next Alabama player to get drafted after Gibbs, probably Byron Young as a defensive lineman. We'll see. There's a couple other possibilities, but that's kind of how the front end of the draft looks for Alabama at this point.
And Chase, they just officially announced that we pretty much knew this is where it was going to go with Bill O'Brien. Thought he did a solid job. He got criticized at Alabama, but the coordinators are open for that, especially from the fan base. But I thought he was solid. Did a good job with Bryce Young. He's going back with Bill Belichick for a 2nd time. Going to tutor Mac Jones. You've been around the Patriots organization. You've been around the National Football League. Is this a perfect fit for Bill O'Brien?
I think his next stop was always going to be the NFL. I think he's an NFL coach at heart. In my opinion, the differences between what college football was when he was the head coach at Penn State versus what he came back to when he came to Alabama, almost 2 different sports with all the changes, NIL, portal, etc. I'm not sure. I don't want to say disillusioned, but I'm not sure he was crazy about the direction the sport had taken.
Right.
At least from what I understand, I think that might have played a little bit of a role in it. But it will be interesting to see how he works with Mac Jones in New England for sure. And it's there's a lot of ways to look at his 2 years. His first Alabama offense was fantastic, really. I know it's sputtered at the end against Georgia with injuries playing a part in that for sure. Second offense in 2022, obviously not nearly as efficient. Although I don't put that, I put part of it at O'Brien's feet. I don't put it all at his feet because I think the talent was just down a little bit offensively for Alabama this past season. So that played a role too. But off he goes after 2 seasons, which, by the way, is about the average for an Alabama OC under Nick Saban. They average about 2 years before he's changing them out. If you look at it going back to 2007, I think 4 years is the longest anyone's done it. So, he's got 2 coordinator hires to fill. and you would think he's going to be looking to get that done in the next week or two at the most, with spring practice kind of around the corner on the calendar.
Yeah, and what's your feel for it? Do you think they could have some NFL ties, but I'm thinking that he's going to go with a guy that probably has experience in both places, that does have collegiate experience. I've heard that he wants to, and I think he even told you guys that cover it every day that he wants to go to more of an RPO, back to that, but also being physical and running the football a little bit more with the next OC.
Yeah, and you would think that if RPO is something that he wants to kind of turn back to a little bit more, then maybe the way to go is college rather than pro in terms of experience. Now, that's not to say they're not running RPOs in the pros, because they certainly are now. But that trickled up. It didn't trickle down, right? So,
right.
To me anyway, if RPO is a big part of what he wants in his next OC, I'd go get a college guy.
I would agree. And then finally, to me, defensive coordinator, and the reason this has been drawn out, because we had heard the smoke, and it ended up being true. Pete Golding going to Ole Miss to help out Lane Kiffin. I still think everything's revolving around Jeremy Pruitt and trying to get him cleared. What are your thoughts on the DC?
Yeah, it's a great question. Pruitt is kind of at the center of it in terms of the mystery and a potential show cause and all that stuff. I do think that there's no way to know, I don't think, if the NCAA is going to rubber stamp anything on Pruitt one way or the other within a certain time frame. If you're Nick Saban and you want a DC in place, you pull the trigger when you want your DC. And the NCAA stuff, I don't think that really plays a role in the timing, but it might play a role in whether he wants Jeremy Pruitt, right? Maybe if you're Nick Saban, you don't want a situation where you brought on a guy who potentially has recruiting restrictions if a show cause eventually came down. So a lot can happen, and I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility that maybe Pruitt, if he's not the DC, could be brought back in a support role, which is, of course, kind of where he got his start, right, under Nick Saban. So, because if you do that, then you've got him. And by the way, they're probably going to be passing a rule that allows sports staffers to coach on the field during the practice week, not on Saturdays, but in practices. So you got to consider that as a potential bonus too, if you ended up with Pruitt back in some kind of role like that. And then, of course, if the NCAA comes out with good news for Pruitt, which I think is unlikely, but if they did, then potentially you could move him up onto the on-field staff for 2024.
Good stuff from Chase Goodbread, no doubt about it. Great intel. Someone that's, of course, as we said, longtime fixture covering Alabama, but also was on the pro level with the NFL and NFL.com, and now back as the lead columnist for the Tuscaloosa News. Well, Chase, we appreciate the time. We know you're a very busy guy. We always enjoy catching up. It was good to see you in Tuscaloosa last night, but let everybody know how to follow your work.
Twitter feed is at Chase Goodbread, and you can find all our coverage, myself and our beat writer Nick Kelly, at TuscaloosaNews.com and TideSports.com.
Appreciate it, Chase. Thank you, man.
All right, Drew, thanks.
That's Chase Goodbread giving us some time this morning. We're going to go on a break and wrap up this Thursday edition of the Recruiting Blitz on Blitz Sports Radio when we come back.
The Blitz has been called.
Here's Bobby White from Woody Anderson Ford on their service department.
President's Award winner 2 years in a row. That's only given to the top 10% of Ford dealers in customer satisfaction. So we're very proud of the service department. And our body shop. If you happen to get into an accident, which not a lot of people just want to go down and see a body shop, but if you get into an accident, award-winning body shop. We have state-of-the-art paint booths back there. They're waterborne paints that we use, friendly for the environment. We've got our production system, the way things are in and out. We have the fastest cycle rate in town of getting your vehicle in, getting your vehicle out, and assured that it's fixed right. We take pictures before it's wrecked, and not only after, but we take it as we're putting the parts on. all done to above industry standards. So I'm proud of our body shop too. Don't forget our parts department. So, if you happen to need parts, performance parts, or just parts if you're a weekend mechanic.
Woody Anderson Ford, located at the corner of Jordan and Sparkman, as well as Hughes Road and Madison. You can also check out the great deals at WoodyAndersonFord.com.
TOC Sports has been there for you. Now, you're probably asking yourself, what does that mean? It means for more than 20 years, Alabama's largest orthopedic group has been there providing coverage and care to more schools and student athletes in the Tennessee Valley than any other group. It means whether you are the star football player, the all-region volleyball ace, or someone who hurt their knee in a weekend pickup basketball game, TOC Sports physicians are proud to have the opportunity to care for all your orthopedic needs. It means for parents, coaches, athletes, desk jockeys, or even weekend warriors. TOC Sports physicians continue to meet and exceed the orthopedic and sports medicine needs of our community. But most importantly, during these challenging times, we're here for you now and will continue to be here. So as long as there are players on the field, games to be played, and contests to be won, the orthopedic specialist from TOC Sports will be ready to help. We don't know what the future holds, but you can count on the TOC Sports team to stay committed to you so you can stay in the game. Call 256-539-2728 today and ask to see a TOC Sports physician. Check them out online, also Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Are you in the market for a recreational vehicle? Do you want to get out and see more of this beautiful country? Well, imagine hearing the laughter of your little ones enjoying gooey s'mores by a cozy campfire and making lasting memories with your friends and family from the comfort of a new camper. We can make your dreams come true at Hall's RV. With over 15 years in the camping business, we know how to get our customers into the perfect camper. We have several models and floor plans here for you to choose from, both new and used. We're family owned and operated with fantastic deals and great service. Everyone wants to work with people they can trust, so come on down to Hall's RV and get the deal of a lifetime. We'll treat you right and get you on the road in the camper of your dreams. Visit us on Highway 431 in Albertville. Hall's RVs, where we sell fun. Or see us on the web at www.hallsrvsales.com.
No need to get your tinsel in a tangle. The Alabama Boat Sale at Rambo Marine in Hazel Green is coming up January 13th through the 15th. With over 200 units in stock ready to be delivered, Rambo Marine will personally gift wrap it for you. Seal the deal today and you'll enjoy the no-show more dough Rambo Marine special, a $3,000 additional discount. Mark your calendars for January 13th through the 15th to join us at the Alabama Boat Sale at Rambo Marine in Hazel Green. Ho, ho, ho! Santa approved.
Welcome back as we are wrapping up this edition of the Recruiting Blitz on Blitz Sports Radio. Don't forget, later today from 2 to 4, the Bandyman, Bailey Lowry, Captain Cool, John Abraham. They'll be talking some more University of Alabama with James Benedito, part of Tide Illustrated and the Rivals Network. So tune in for that. It means download the app, the Google Store, the Apple Store, to listen to those guys from 2 to 4. And, of course, I'll be on with Wes Neighbors on our sister station on 97.7 The Zone tonight, as I'll be joining Wes Neighbors in studio. Steve Molson will be on the road as they will be bringing you the Shorter Hawks hosting the UAH Chargers as UAH looks to bounce back from that tough Saturday evening against West Alabama, the quality program. West Alabama has the Tigers, but, UAH has been very resilient. Looks like they're going to give C.J. Williamson a little bit of a 2-week break, but they have played without him already and played well, so hopefully they'll bounce back against Shorter, who's been struggling this year. Certainly Chaney Johnson going to be counted on, Max Schulman, a lot of those veterans. They've got Luke Burnett, a lot of guys that have been through the fire, so hopefully UAH will bounce back, and you can hear that tonight on 97.7 The Zone. And I'll be bringing you some more quality recruiting conversation tomorrow at 9 o'clock. After we bring you Talking Ball from 7 to 9 a.m. on 97.7 The Zone, you can switch over here to the Blitz Sports Radio after you download the app. And from 9 to 10 a.m., we'll wrap up another great week of the Recruiting Blitz with D Squared. Big thanks to Chase Goodbread of the Tuscaloosa News for coming on to talk some Alabama basketball. Also, to talk some Alabama football and the NFL in the recruiting process. Nathaniel Hackett, hired as the OC now of the New York Jets. No Joe Brady there. Heard he was going to interview. So we'll see if Joe Brady's in the mix at Alabama. Stay tuned, everybody. Stay warm. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 9 a.m. And don't forget the afternoon blitz later today on the Blitz Sports Radio. Everybody enjoy the rest of your Thursday.